Hello everyone. Today we will be expanding on our JavaScript knowledge and we will learn different data types and how JavaScript handles them. This is the third video of an ongoing series about JavaScript. If you are new here, please start from the first video. All programming languages deal with data. That is how they process and output information. Data comes in several types. In computer science, the most common data types are strings, integers, floats, and boolean. A string is a data type that stores some text. Almost anything can be put into a string except for some special characters that JavaScript cannot deal with. An example of a string is the words in our previous video. An integer is a data type that stores a number. This number can be any negative or positive number, but it must be a whole number. An integer data type cannot store a decimal point. That is where floats come in. Floats are a data type that can store rational numbers, meaning they can store fractions and numbers that have a decimal point in them, i.e. numbers which are not whole. A boolean is another type of data that is especially useful in programming. It can store only two pieces of information, either true or false. This data type is useful because it takes up a lot less space than other data types and can also be processed faster since it only has two possible states. JavaScript deals with these in different ways, but to understand them, we must first understand how variables work. Variables are arbitrary names that can store data. Think of them as a data location that you can call upon later. For example, I can make the variable name hold a string containing the hub. Later, when I want to output the data again, I can just write console.log name instead. To create a variable in JavaScript, type var. This is a function that will make the next piece of text a variable. Then type name semicolon. This creates the variable name. Right now, it does not store anything since we have not told it to store anything. To assign data to a variable, type the variable name equals and then the data you want to store. To make things simpler, we can declare and assign a variable in one line. For example, we can write var name equals the hub. JavaScript deals with data we talked about earlier in several ways. To assign a string to a variable, use name equals and place the string inside the double speech marks. The double speech marks can be replaced with a single speech mark too. Keeping that in mind, note that a string in JavaScript cannot contain the double or single speech mark characters, because then JavaScript will not know when the string starts or stops. Assigning an integer is easier. You can simply type var number equals and then the number you want, replacing number with anything you want. Don't use speech marks when assigning integers, otherwise JavaScript will literally store the string 10 instead of the integer 10, and then JavaScript won't be able to perform arithmetic operations on it, like number plus 1. We will perform a simple experiment to test this. I will store two variables, one called string and the other integer. They will both store 10. However, strings 1 will be within speech marks. This is what happens when we try to add 1 to both the variables. The variable string literally outputs 10 plus 1, and the other integer variable outputs 11. To store floats, you can use the exact same method as above. JavaScript does not differentiate between different types of numbers like other programming languages. Some programming languages use the data types integer, short, long, and float separately. Booleans are stored like integers, but instead with a true or false instead of a number. Make sure that you do not capitalize or distort in any other way the text true and false from how it is shown on the screen. On Replit, I have posted a new assignment. I want you to output your name and age as variables. Additional instructions and help are on the assignment page as usual.